Welcome to Food Friends, a podcast inspiring home cooks to try new dishes in the kitchen by sharing trusted recipes, tips, and friendship. Hi, I'm Sonia.
And I'm Carrie. We met in Los Angeles over 15 years ago as personal chefs and haven't stopped talking about food since. We're so glad you're here. Thanks for being our food friend.
If you enjoyed our podcast, please subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with friends. We love hearing from you, so follow us on Instagram or drop us a line at foodfriendspodcast.com.
Yes, we'd love to hear from you and your food friends. Happy cooking and eating. Hi, Sonia.
Hi, Carrie.
Sonia, I'm really excited to hear what was your best bite this week.
Well, I think at the new year, I'm always wanting things that are warm. I want things that I can make ahead of time to make weeknights easier. I want beans and legumes. So I made the vegetarian chili that I shared at the end of last year on our Substack.
Wow, by the way, I'm feeling all of those things too. So I love that you're bringing this forward.
I love chili just all the time. And I typically make turkey chili, as you know, and I've shared that recipe with you and I've shared it here before.
I have to stop you though, because your turkey chili is my family's favorite chili that exists on the planet. And I think you kind of undersold your turkey chili to me. You were like, oh, it's just like a very typical turkey chili. And it really is so savory and so delicious and it just comforting. It's like what you really want when the weather is cold.
Yeah, and it freezes well and you can double the recipe. You can make big pots of it and serve it to crowd. I've done it for holidays and things where everyone gets a bowl of chili and there's a toppings bar. Chili is so versatile for all those things. This vegetarian chili is actually very similar to my turkey chili, of course, minus the turkey. The flavor boosts are going to be similar. To give it a little bit more intrigue than just beans, I add winter squash to this chili.
Oh, which probably adds maybe a little bit of sweetness to it.
It adds a little sweetness.
Yeah.
I would say if you don't like squash, you could add in sweet potato instead of squash. You could also actually even add cubed zucchini if you want like a little more heft, but even less flavor. And if you didn't want either of those things, you could just keep it with beans and call it a day.
It's probably like a onions, garlic kind of start, and then beans, and then the spices that you're using, correct?
Yeah. So you start by sweating your onions. Then you add a little bit of garlic. Then you add your tomato paste if you want to add that extra level of depth of flavor.
Do you add any green pepper in this too? Because there's a green
Such
pepper.
a great pepper. Yes.
There's a green pepper in your turkey chili.
Yes. I actually would add not just a green pepper. I also like to add a poblano pepper to this because I think it goes really well with the squash. If you didn't want a poblano pepper, you could add just a green pepper. If you didn't want green pepper, you could do a red or orange or yellow pepper. The peppery flavor is going to add something to your vegetarian chili because I think the trick with vegetarian chilies, even more so than with meat chilies, is you want to add in flavor because otherwise it just tastes like stewed beans. What makes it a chili, right? The spices and often the meatiness, but here we have to add something in for that meatiness. So I do like to saute the onions with a little bit of pepper, poblano, then add your garlic. The spices I typically use in my chili are, of course, chili powder. And if you can find a good quality one, that will make a big difference. Cumin. I like to add garlic powder and sometimes even onion powder because they add a different flavor than fresh onion and garlic.
That is something that surprised me about your turkey chili too, is I very much always prioritize those fresh ingredients, like a fresh chopped onion, a fresh chopped clove of garlic or several cloves of garlic. But I think that adding those dried spices adds so much more depth to your turkey chili. It's like all the flavors that you know, it just tastes better.
It just tastes better.
Yeah.
And if you have other spices you like to add to your chili, go for it. Oh, I always add a little bit of sweet paprika. I add a little pinch of cayenne too, depending on how hot my chili powder is. I like a little bit of heat. Typically, I make my beans from dried. And for my chilies, I love to use a meaty heirloom bean. I know it sounds fancy. You don't have to do this. You could use a red bean. You could use a pinto bean. You can use whatever bean you like. But if you can get your hands on a Whipple bean or a Good Mother Stallard
that's
bean,
how I learned this bean too from you and learned how much more flavor it brings to the table. It really does.
It makes your chili that much more special.
Yes.
If you don't have time to cook your beans from scratch, you can absolutely use canned beans for this. Like I said, a red bean, a pinto bean. If I'm using canned, I'll do a combination of canned beans. I like to have variety. I'll even sometimes throw in a can of black beans. If I'm making my beans from scratch, I add my bean broth to my chili. If I'm not, you're going to add stock or water instead. I do find because if you cook your beans with a little bit of aromatics or bay leaf, that bean broth has flavor. And especially with an heirloom bean, that bean broth has even more flavor. So I don't like to waste it. I like it in the chili.
Now, my next question, since I do know your turkey chili recipe so well, is what about the beer? Did you add any beer into this one?
Yes, I love to add a can of beer.
Yes.
I think a kind of brown ale is really nice, like a Newcastle beer, but a lager works well.
I usually use like a Modelo.
Oh, a
I
Modelo
have a can of
is
Modelo
perfect.
in my fridge. Yes.
Can of Modelo is perfect. So you could use a can of beer. If you didn't have beer, add a little stock. This is super versatile. The other secret ingredient in my chili came from my friend Josh, but he always adds a little bit of unsweetened cocoa powder, not hot chocolate mix. Unsweetened cocoa powder. I think that's really nice in a vegetarian chili too, because it adds another kind of chocolatey, espresso-y note, but that's not sweet. Think of moles. Think of the ways that chilies pair with that chocolate flavor.
That bitterness is actually nice, especially if you're adding in those sweet potatoes or any winter squash. Even peppers add a little bit of sweetness to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the squash will add sweetness.
Yeah.
So it's also a can of tomatoes, diced or whole tomatoes to add a tomatoey base. And then you add in your cubed squash and you let that simmer. And the longer you simmer, the better it tastes. I really let it all kind of get soft and low and gentle simmer. And I swear by this, you have to make chili a day in advance.
I was about to say that. I'm so glad you said that. Really, I think it's hard. I'll just say it's hard for me. It's hard for my family when this is going on the stove to not just like siphon off a couple bowls and be like, okay, this is what we're having for dinner. Really waiting until the next day. It makes all the difference, which also makes it the most incredible make-ahead dish.
Yeah, I can't explain why it's so much better. We did eat this the first night, and then Jonathan was even like, it's going to taste better tomorrow. I'm like, it's going to taste so much better tomorrow. Not that it was bad, but we just knew that we had jumped the gun.
Yeah, it just does.
I had some corn tortillas that were kind of on their way out. So I cut them up into triangles, drizzled them with oil, and baked them in the oven because we didn't have tortilla chips on hand. And so I love a chili with some tortilla chips, with scallion on top, a little grating of cheddar cheese or sour cream if you like that. I love the toppings you can add to chili.
A chili with toppings bar is my favorite kind of party. I just have like a casual meal together. And if you have the vegetarian version, you have the turkey version, I think multiple versions of chili is so inclusive for everybody.
Yeah, that's right. Because not everyone eats meat, and it's nice to have two variations. And if you cook off a big pot of dried beans, you can easily split that into two chilies.
I think that's a great tip too.
So Carrie, what was your best bite of the week?
Well, Sonia, you're going to laugh because my best bite of the week is a kale salad with pickled raisin vinaigrette, which... Listen,
pickled raisin vinaigrette.
A pickled.
No, I love the sound of it. It reminds me, is it agrodolce?
That's what the recipe even says. Inspired by Italian agrodolce. This easy salad features a sweet and sour dressing dotted with raisins. In this case, it's golden raisins, and a quick pickle of shallots that you add into some vinegar. What's interesting is that this would actually be a perfect salad if you were having a chili party.
Well, also golden raisins make me think of you because you gave me those raisins from Peacock, that farm in California.
Yes.
They're the best golden raisins I've ever had.
They're the best golden raisins. And I learned how to love golden raisins from my friend Amelia. And so then I also send those same raisins to her too. Listen, this recipe is actually very easy. It's a massaged kale salad. You wash your kale, you get it dried. She just recommends that you massage it a little bit with your hands. I actually use the trick that I learned from you, which is add a little bit of lemon juice and a little bit of salt and massage it. One of the comments when I was reading the recipe comments is someone said, the recipe developer didn't tell you to add olive oil to massage your kale. And I actually think that's what makes it a little bit heavier. It weighs it down. But
I agree. I think it's better to massage you can even do just salt, but a little lemon juice and salt is all you need.
Yeah, and the lemon juice, I think, just lifts everything. It just like lifts all the flavors. The vinaigrette, it's really all in the mixture of ingredients. It's olive oil, a half a cup of olive oil, a half a cup of red or white wine vinegar. So either one you can use. I've also used balsamic. You take a big fat shallot and you peel it And usually what I do is then I have my shallot and I kind of cut through it. And instead of cutting through it, you really want your shallot pieces to be in rings because you want them to be kind of quick pickled and lay on top of your salad.
Oh, so you're doing slices of shallot as opposed to diced shallot is what you're saying.
Slices of shallot and sliced whole. So it's like a ring instead of a piece.
Instead of halving your shallot like some people would do.
Instead of cutting it in half, like that's what I usually do when I'm cutting an onion. I cut it in half and then I peel it. And in this case, you peel your shallot first and then you just cut it. Take a little bit of time and cut it so that your shallot's in rings. And then you're adding your raisins and your shallot and a touch of maple syrup or honey to your olive oil and vinegar to your vinaigrette. And you can make this a couple of days in advance. And then the other part of the recipe that I think really makes a difference is toasted nuts. And so the recipe calls for walnuts. I've also used pecans. I've made this a few times since I started making this recipe. I'm a person that loves pecans too, but you can toast your nuts a couple days in advance. I think hazelnuts, those Freddy Guy hazelnuts that you introduced me to would be really delicious on this salad. And then this is a salad that travels and it sits and it's perfect for a meal prep and it would be perfect for a chili party as well.
I love a good kale salad. As you know, we've talked about a few, but this sounds great. This sounds so exactly like something I am craving this time of year, would make this time of year, and it's relying on those pantry things. I make kale salad with strawberries in the spring, but right now there's no great strawberries. I love this idea of relying on the dried fruit and sort of making it shine with a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of punchiness, and mellows out that sweetness. The shallots are a nice touch. I think I'm going to make this like today.
If you're not someone that keeps golden raisins in your pantry, don't stop yourself from making this. That sort of yellowy color is nice in the winter. You're bringing a little bit of light to it. But like if you just have regular dark raisins, add them. They would be delicious.
So would currants. I think currants are always a good substitute for raisin and a little less raisiny if that's not really your vibe.
Yeah, that's a good sub too. And I think part of what adding them to the dressing does is it plumps them up and it adds that sort of vinegary deliciousness it mixes all those flavors together.
Look, oatmeal with beans, winter squash, kale, those are all the ingredients that are available right now that are so good right now. All those dark colors and rich colors, and it's so nourishing, so comforting. It's perfect.
It makes me really excited to cook.
Until next time. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for being our food friend.
If you enjoyed our podcast, please subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with friends. We love hearing from you, so follow us on Instagram or drop us a line at foodfriendspodcast.com.
Yes, we'd love to hear from you and your food friends. Happy cooking and eating.